Here on Paths of Glory, I just finished up the winter 1916 turn, going into the spring. Where are we? Alright. So, the West Front started getting bloodier, and I'm finding the game does a pretty good job of recreating the feel for it. You make an assault, both sides get hammered. Even if the defender loses, the trenches let them stay. So they pump more troops in to defend. So even though maybe the stack's a little weaker, the attacker's probably a lot weaker and would have to completely reorganize and give you yet another turn to fill your defenses. I think it's possible to eventually break the line, but it's definitely giving me a good trench feel on that. Over on the Italian front, not much happened. The mandated offensive was from the French, and the Italians chose not to attack in the mountains in the winter because they actually knew that the bad weather card was in the Central Powers' hand from a spy the turn earlier. So not much changed on the Italian front. The Balkans has been kind of fluid here. We got the Austrians marching in and slowly crushing Romania. The rest of it's pretty similar, pretty much stayed the same. But the Bulgarians helped the Austrians a little bit. Biggie. And before the blockade, I was up to 18 victory points. Could have possibly pushed to 20 with a last round operations phase. But that wouldn't help because the blockade was in place. It would have dropped back down to 19. But it's definitely close. Had a panic, so I thought my victory points were all wrong. Had to go through and recount them all, and much to my surprise, they were actually right, even though it took several recountings to make sure of that. Alright, over on the Russian front, though, this doesn't look good for Russia. Got the Germans besieging Riga. They've got one small unit defending their supply line there, which may be an opportunity, but it looks so risky for the Russians to try to take advantage of that. And this is all that's left of the northern Russians. The Austrians have marched forward and taken Kiev. And Odessa, well, the Russians are rushing reinforcements for that. I had actually made the choice to attack Kiev instead of Odessa because I didn't think the Russians would be able to get troops to Odessa, but I forgot. Yeah, they can get reinforcements off the replacement table. Okay. Over in the Turkish side, the Russians are continuing to push forward, trying to look at how exactly can I cut off supply to the vast majority of the Turks without risking my own too much. It's an expensive process in terms of moving units, and frankly, the Allies have better things to do, I think. But now and then an extra point comes up, so I try to take advantage of that somewhere. I think that's actually the right factor about the backwaters, is that you don't see these major across-the-board pushes. So, I don't know. There's just factors about the system that I think work really, really, really well. But then there's these little glitches that I say, but a hexing counter game handles that better. So, but that's just not fair. I mean, it really isn't, because this is handling some stuff that your standard war game wouldn't handle. And so I've got to look at what those don't handle as flaws as well then. It's a matter of a balance. So the Lusitanian card still bugs me. Some of the coordination factors between East and West bug me, but LGG goes out of its way, Le Grand Guerre goes out of its way to actually simulate some of the factors that I'm kind of complaining about here. So, as a gameplay mechanic, in order to prevent the Central Powers from getting crushed, because historically, for the most part, there weren't these huge coordinated offensives on both fronts at the same time. They would be limited objective offensives. because maybe one side was thinking, oh hell, we'll see how that other bloodbath goes before we commit heavily to this one. I'm not sure. I find myself playing more and more nothing but operations cards. I had sort of the obligatory replacement card for the Allies. For the Centrals, I didn't even get that in. I was planning on it, but there was an emergency situation that cropped up and I needed to do an SR and strategic redeployment. And I'm finding it harder and harder to play events or most of the other little things. Certainly a peace term seems weird. All right, I'm going to let it go here.